Welcome everyone to another episode of Sonoma Voices. Today is joining us my dear friend, Joel Hendler. Welcome to Sonoma Voices, Joel.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Joel and I know each other for a long time, mostly from yoga practice. We were just chatting before. As I asked Joel, would you be in a yoga class this morning if you didn't have this interview? And he said,
absolutely. I love my yoga.
Can you tell us about your Sonoma experience? And I'm sure yoga makes a big part of the experience in Sonoma. Tell us about what Sonoma means to you and what is the experience that you have in Sonoma.
Well, I grew up in a small town in Southeast Washington State, so I'm used to small towns, but I lived, because I started out in a small town, I always coveted living in a city. So I lived for decades in San Francisco, I lived in Seattle, I lived in New York, I lived in Boston, and having moved here over 10 years ago, and keeping my office in San Francisco, the journey to go from that urban setting and all that chaos to come out to Sonoma was fabulous, and you just felt the stress of the city just dropping off, the wonderful vineyards, etc. So that was great. That's one of the biggest things that drew me back here. So.
Of course. You mentioned the office. Can you tell us what kind of office did you have in San Francisco? What did you do?
I've been an interior designer for over 40 years. And I started out in residential design up in Seattle, and during the '74 recession, when they had the billboard up, so the last person leaving Seattle, please turn out the lights, I headed down to San Francisco and took a job as a junior designer in an architecture firm that specialized in corporate offices. I've, in my career, ended up doing over 30 floors of the Transamerica building for a high-end investment banking house. I've done, after 9/11, I decided to change my focus, having met most of my goals in corporate design, to focus on residential design. So I've done wonderful estates up here in the wine country. And what inspires me about Sonoma is the colors. We've just come through the fall where all of the vineyards are turning gold and amber and just fabulous shadings. The hills turn this beautiful dusty beige taupe. And as we're now going into winter with all the wonderful rain finally coming to us, the hills are going to turn green, and the vineyards are going to sprout leaves again. And I have a personal philosophy about color in that I leave green to God. How can you ever compete with the colors that are happening in the hills and the vineyards of Sonoma? So I leave green to God.
Oh, true. Speaking like a true interior designer, colors and beauty of surroundings of Sonoma. Oh, almost tears in my eyes. So what else do you like to do in Sonoma? Do you ever go to farmers markets? What else do you do?
Absolutely. I go to the town of Sonoma is built around a square, the town square, we call it. And the mission, Sonoma is one of the oldest cities, if not the oldest city in California. So the history of the missions and the unfortunate Spanish that kind of misbehaved terribly to the natives here, but nonetheless that history is here. And the farmers market happens in the town square, but the town is small enough that it's a community. Number one, there's no parking meters. I love that compared to San Francisco. But there's community things that happen here, like this Sonoma Speakers Series, where they bring noted people here that you can sit in an audience and listen to topics that are amazing, and people that are amazing. I personally do a lot of the stylings for the Sonoma Valley Authors Festival. I don't know, do you know about Authors Festivals, Nada?
I heard from you, but I haven't been. So tell us more about Authors Festival.
Well, they popped up all over the world, really, in that Sonoma, Aspen, Sun Valley, Palm Springs. The founders are friends of mine from long ago, and decided that to start the Sonoma one. And what the festival is, an authors festival, is that they gather 20 to 30 noted published authors all in one place. They take over a resort, and as a sponsor, you're allowed then to sit in the audience and have these authors explain where their inspirations came from. Sometimes they're in conversation with notable people, asking them questions, and Isabel Allende, Amy Tan, there's astrophysicists from the Nobel Prize winners. There's, in fact, coming this spring, Ada Limon, who is the current US Poet Laureate, is going to be a presenter, and she was born and raised here in Sonoma. So,
I didn't know you pronounce her name Ada. I am from another country, obviously. Ada Limon, guess what? Used to be my student in Bikram Yoga Studio.
Oh, small world, small
you
world.
Know that?
I did not know that. And maybe I am mispronouncing your name. It's Ada?
That's what I would say in my language, but hey, it's all good. Yeah.
Anyway. It's wonderful to be part of that, and in addition to the resort experience that as a sponsor you're able to experience, they put on a presentation to the town of Sonoma in our lovely town square, where 4 of the authors make a presentation to the town for free. Last year we had over 850 people attending in the square for these presentations. It was fabulous. And then sponsors, bless their hearts, also buy books and donate them to the high school students. And the authors go to the high school and make presentations and hand out thousands of free books to the students. It's amazing. So it's a well-rounded community event. And I've been told by people attending who attend events elsewhere in the country that Sonoma is the best one of them all.
I'm not surprised. You mentioned spring coming up. Spring is coming up. We in Sonoma, just like in other Mediterranean countries, spring is in January and February. But what crossed my mind is our movie festival. Do you ever go to the movie festival here in Sonoma?
You know, it's also renowned and one of the best in the country. And I have not, I have to confess, there's only so much I can do.
Same here. Every year I want to, and then something happens. It just comes and goes. I think it's only 2 days. That's why.
It's very short, very fast, and it's difficult. But it seems daunting, if I confess, to figure out which ones to go to and how to get enough of them in before it's over. So, but I highly recommend it. Everybody raves about it, so it's on my list.
Sonoma always makes, besides the movie festival, makes the whole town party and get together at the town square. And of course, there's lots of wine and fabulous food, and local restaurant owners bring their own food. It's just a party.
Yes, and it's a showcase for all of Sonoma, not just the film industry. So, yeah, it's great.
Oh. So how would you describe Sonoma in a couple of words? Why I'm asking, I'm just going to give you a little inspiration. A friend of mine, also a yoga studio student, said once, you know how Sonoma is? Sonoma is like a hot tub, hard to get out, hard to get out of it. I think I asked her, do you ever go somewhere else? Do you ever go to San Francisco? It's 45 minutes from Sonoma. And she says, yeah, when I go and I start looking for parking in 20 minutes, I'm thinking, whose idea was this? So we have everything here in Sonoma. And then she says, Sonoma is like a hot tub. It's hard to get out of it. So how about you?
Well, I love being here in that it feels like a small, accessible community. You don't feel like you're in a battle here. You're really comfortably living here, and the people are friendly and nice and unpretentious. And I laugh. I go to Starbucks often, and on the days when I have to go to the city and I dress differently for the city than I do, they can always tell, oh, you're going to the city today. And I think, well, when we live in Sonoma, it's not about fashion. It's not necessarily, it's about style more than fashion. So everyone's got their own style here, which I think is great. The connection to the nature here, I mentioned that earlier, the hiking is unbelievable. The areas that you can go to. Jack London State Park is here. That's fascinating. The estate that he had, the experiments that he had about trying to raise cactus without needles, so that you could, without water and irrigation, be able to feed cattle cactus. What an idea. So I don't know, but I just find there's so much to explore and discover here. So love it.
Yes, I know that you don't drink wine, but every guest mentions some kind of a wine tasting. I also don't drink wine or anything else, but just going with a picnic to any winery around here and sit in the bench and watch the sunset and have your food prepared in your own kitchen from the best ingredients. It's something that we can still experience even though we don't drink wine. We're two of us. I have a feeling we're the only people in Sonoma that don't drink wine. Do you ever go to wineries to just enjoy the nature and views? And
well, again, you're absolutely right that the drinking wine is only one part of what happens at a winery. And as an interior designer, I am pleased and an admirer of how the wineries themselves are really trying to tickle all five of our senses. They are just beautiful landscape, beautiful architecture, lovely accessories, lovely colors, lovely lighting, lovely comfort, lovely people. Just everything is tickled at the wineries here, and each one is trying to outdo the other. And as a guest, we're the ones that really reap the benefits.
yeah, I don't know how many, but how many wineries we have around, but the number 400 is going through my head. I don't know if this is combined with Napa. I mean, one after another, just incredible choice of going to have a picnic or a wine tasting, bring your friends with you. By the way, I sell real estate. I'm a real estate advisor with Engel & Folkers. And yesterday I was showing 6 or 8 houses to a client from out of town. And a friend of ours who referred me that client, Stephanie, was with us in the car. And the client asked me, how would you describe Sonoma? 2 of us jumped with passion, with so many words. And I noticed passion from both of us, passion describing Sonoma. And Stephanie said, she also lived in East Coast, big cities. Stephanie said, it's easy comparing to living in big cities. Not to mention climate. Did you notice driving from San Francisco towards Sonoma, there's one almost like a curtain, almost like a wall. Cold stops and suddenly hits you warm, beautiful weather like a warm blanket. When you go to San Francisco, not just fashion-wise, you dress differently, but I have a jacket, sweater, all kinds of things in the back of my car. In Sonoma, rarely we need anything like this.
I used to joke that in San Francisco, when you woke up, you had no idea what to wear. And so you just put on all these layers so that you could adjust as you went through your day. When you wake up in Sonoma and the sun is shining, you know exactly what you're going to be putting on. So that's always fun. I like that. And I lived in New York. And I always wanted to. My father was from New York, and I always thought that was going to be the glamorous life. And I got the chance. I lived in Manhattan. I lived across the street from Andy Warhol and down the block from Imelda Marcos. It was quite the wonderful neighborhood. But I would go to the grocery store, go to the dry cleaner, or just the daily maintenance that we all go through to organize our lives. It was a fight. It was a struggle. I went to the dry cleaner, got my shirt, and all the buttons were ripped off. And I said, "You ripped off all the buttons." He says, "Well, prove you didn't bring it in that way." I went, "What?" So then back to where I'm living now, where we live, all of our little tasks are pleasant. I know my dry cleaner, and we chat and know the grocers and the checkout people and my Starbucks people. It's a joy.
And you get all your buttons back, right?
All the buttons stay on my shirts, yeah.
You know what's the thing in Sonoma, because it's so small. When I go to a grocery store, if I'm in a hurry, I meet at least 4 or 5 people. We stand there, you talk. It's a social event. And I come back an hour later, late for all my appointments, but hey, this is a priority. Connect with your friends, and this is where we meet people out and about. Very
Yes.
pleasant, very pleasant. We are in love with Sonoma. And another thing that Stephanie from yesterday in a car driving that buyer, we both says we feel lucky. We feel lucky living
Absolutely.
here. That's good. If we can describe this with one word, lucky.
And I'm happy to join that word as well. Lucky, and yeah, bless. Another one.
Such a pleasure chatting with you. I just want to say that if somebody wants to get a hold of you, has any questions, interior design questions, your email is joel@hendler.com, right?
That is correct. And you can look at my website, hendler.com, and find out more about the projects that I've done and a little bit of my philosophies and my approach. So
even if you don't have any questions, you should go to that website, hendler.com, and just enjoy.
thank you.
So good to chat with you. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been an absolute pleasure. And let's just enjoy Sonoma and continue to be lucky and grateful to be here.
Absolutely. The sun is shining. We are blessed, and the rain is on its way.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.